guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena. I'm Griff Seneca, joined by my co-host, Rob Goldberger. And today, we're back. The NFL season right around the corner. We're finally back with our weekly predictions. I know this is my favorite part of the show we go through each year. This year, we're going to keep track of it, maybe have a little prize at the end for whoever wins. We'll see what happens with that. But we will be talking some NFL football today. But first, we are going to talk some baseball. Rob's a big baseball guy, so I'm going to take advantage of that. We're going to talk a little more baseball now down the stretch, especially since it is September and there are still a lot of races, specifically the NL East, which has become very interesting over the past week or so, with the Phillies and Mets kind of crawling back. It seemed like they were dead for a bit, but both of them are right there. The Phillies 2 out, the Mets 3.5 out. So it's going to be a very interesting finish. Obviously, the wild cards are very close as well. So, Rob, we'll start with you on this. The NL East, I guess we can kind of start with. What are your thoughts on this? Obviously, the Phils, I know Rhys Hoskins, you've said it yourself, is a big part of that lineup. He's basically out for the season. So what are your thoughts? Who do you think will end up coming on top out of this race?
Unfortunately, I'm still going to have to pick Atlanta just because I've seen the Phils collapse in September too many times. And, despite their easy schedule, they have teams like the Orioles. They have a series against the Pirates at the end of the year. They have another series against the Marlins, who, they do. The Marlins do kill them always. It's a September.
Marlins are pesky. They're just a pesky team.
It's a September tradition for the Phillies at this point. But I just don't see the Phils or the Mets being consistent enough. You and I both know they've dropped some games to, some really bad teams, which despite, only taking 1 out of 3 from the Rockies, Atlanta usually seems to beat up on those bad teams more effectively, than the Mets and the Phils do, which is why they've been the division champion 3 years running prior to this. So I'm going to have to go with the Braves, but, it's an open race, 3 teams separated by 3.5 games or less. So I think it's really an open race, but I would have to go with Atlanta still if I were going to pick a winner as of today.
Yeah, I think, just looking at the schedule, I think what this is going to come down to is the last 3 games of the season, which is the Mets playing the Braves in Atlanta. I think that's going to be the key series because right now we're 3.5 out. So theoretically, the Mets are right there where they need to be, in contention with the Braves. So for me, the Mets have really come on. At one point, I believe it was 6 under, 8.5 out. They were, and now they're 1 over 500. And 3.5 out. So they've clearly been able to make up some ground, which they needed to after that horrific NL West stretch. They went out and have beat up on the Nats, the Marlins. I think they've only lost 1 game or so to those teams so far. So it's been a really good run. They've won about, 8 of their last 9, something like that, 8 of their last 10. So they're playing good baseball. And the key has been their offense. The pitching has been, whatever this series. They've blown some leads and whatnot, but the offense has gotten going. You've seen guys like Lindor, Baez really start to contribute. That's what they need. Conforto looks a lot better. Alonso's hitting the ball well. He's hit well all year. So that's going to be the key. If their offense can keep going against the good teams, against the teams like the Brewers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, those teams that come up in this stretch. So for me, I think the Braves are definitely the team right now that you have to look at and say this is, it's going to be tough to take them down just because they also have a really easy schedule. But they do have some games in there against the Padres at the end of the year. They have a simulated game that they're already losing. So there are some things that go against them. But, I think the Braves are definitely, it's going to be a little challenging just because of that schedule. And the Mets definitely have the hardest schedule of the 3 teams. The Phillies, I don't want to count the Phillies out, but I just don't feel like they're going to get it done. I feel like if I had to pick 2 of these teams that would be, 1-2 at the end of the year, I feel like I'd say Braves Mets. I just feel like, it might be recency bias with the way the Mets are playing, but I feel a little more confident with the way the Mets are playing than the Phillies. I feel like the Phillies are, they've got a good top of that rotation, but there's just some inconsistency at times. And same with the offense. The offense, if it starts, not performing the way it has as of late, I really don't think, it's going to go well. But any of these 3 teams can win. I'd say the Braves right now are probably the team to beat. But I think the key for the Mets, as a Mets fan, you just got to get within 1 or so games. If you can be 1 game back in that last series, that'd be great. And then you just have to win 2 of 3. Otherwise, a sweep and you win the division. So I think the Mets are in a good spot just because of that last series, that they just got to figure out a way to get, at least within 3 games by then to, have a chance.
I normally would agree with you, predictable Phillies collapse coming, except they do these are some of the teams they're playing in the month of September. The Rockies, the Cubs. They have a series against the Mets, which is, guaranteed to be huge. The Orioles, followed by a 4-game series against the Pirates, all at home. So
yeah, it's an easy schedule.
A really easy schedule, but those two, they're going to be two crucial series. The 17th to the 19th with the Mets, and then the 28th to the 30th with the Braves. I think those are two for all three teams involved. That those series could decide the division. Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Head-to-head play will be huge.
There's a lot of bad baseball played in this division. There would be. There's a lot of injury. I think probably more than any other division, maybe even combined in the Major League Baseball. Each team has gone significant portions of the season without one of their top 3 hitters. You guys with DeGrom obviously losing the best pitcher in baseball. Hoskins, the backbone of our lineup, and then obviously Atlanta losing an MVP, a perennial MVP candidate at this point. It really might just be who gets to the finish line the healthiest. I mean, I'm sure Braves fans had a scare when Ozzie Albies went down the other day. He turned out to be okay, thankfully. But it really might just be a matter of, as it is in so many sports and so many times in Major League Baseball, who gets to the finish line the healthiest.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets, Brandon Nimmo went down this past weekend. That's going to be bad. I mean, he's been, a key in that top of the lineup. Jonathan VR, though, has been the key. The Ilar brothers, that they like to call him. Jonathan VR right now is on one of the hottest streaks I've ever seen a Major League player hit. I mean, this guy just goes up and just gets hits each time. I've never seen anything like it. And Kevin Pillar, he's in a lot of homers. He's been hot this past week. So, if guys like that can show up for the Mets and fill the void that Nimmo, that they're going to miss with Nimmo, hey, that'd be huge for them.
Yeah, certainly. On to some better baseball. The NL West race is absolutely insane. And Griff and I were actually just talking before we started recording that we can't believe that the Giants are still on top, edging out this Dodgers super team by just this fine margin. We'll see if they can get there at the end. But if they would, I mean, I think it's probably one of the most surprising things in Major League Baseball. And, I can't even remember, all these guys you thought you were watched, and you're watching them, get base hit after base hit, RBI after RBI. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, the San Francisco Giants, you even look at the box score each night, you see the averages. It's not even that impressive. I mean, there's guys hitting like 220 and whatnot, and you're just kind of like, how is this team 37 games over 500? Their pitching has been fantastic. That's been one of the reasons they've been so good. You look at that rotation, you got Kevin Gausman, Alex Wood's been great. He's Sclafani. Logan Webb has been one of the best pitchers in baseball recently. He's come out of nowhere. He's been fantastic. Their bullpen's been good. And another thing, I mean, depth has been a reason that they've been so good. They've got every player on that team, really, they rotate and start. I mean, they've got guys. I mean, there's so many guys to name, but guys who come to mind, like they got Wilmer Flores. They've got so many guys in the outfield. Alex Dickerson, Mike Yastrzemski, Steven Duger. Like there's just guys and guys everywhere that can play every position. Bryant is there. Obviously, he's a beast. Brandon Crawford's been a fantastic. Brandon Belt's been great. So they've got guys who have, really resurged. Moving on, like you said, I mean, this race between really the Giants and Dodgers, the Padres have, really been a disappointment this year. I mean, only 9 over 500. People were saying this would be a team that would be, top 2 in baseball, and they've been far from that. This is a team that, really might miss the playoffs now. To be honest, with their tough schedule, they play, only teams above 500, except for the Los Angeles Angels, who are basically a 500 team. So it's going to be a tough stretch for the Padres, but their pitching just has not been. They've traded for a lot of those pitchers, and they just have not performed the way that they expected. Blake Snell, Yu Darvish was great the first half, but not as great. Joe Musgrove's probably been the best guy they got, but pitching's been underwhelming. But moving on to the Dodgers, before I toss this to you, I mean, the Dodgers right now are, this is a team. They have suffered some injuries this year. I'll give them that, and they've persevered. Obviously, they lost Bauer to, the whole, sexual assault issue. Clayton Kershaw's been really banged up, but still, this is a team that acquired Max Scherzer at the deadline. They acquired Trey Turner at the deadline. They've got endless arms. They got endless amounts of talent. So I don't really feel bad for them. This team should still have won the division, or still should win the division over the Giants, who, really, that's just a team built on depth. One thing with the Dodgers that I think, it's really interesting to watch is Cody Bellinger. I mean, this guy has completely fallen off the face of the earth. He is, batting like 160 now. He is horrific. He went from an MVP to, a guy that really I know he's a plus defender out in center, but
Yeah.
I think they got to really question starting him, especially once you get to the playoffs. I mean, this guy, you just can't trust him. Sure, he'll hit a big home run every once in a while, but he's been really bad. And I think if, that's been the difference, honestly, between the reason why, this lineup has been great and not, superstar, because, before you looked at Cody Bellinger, you said, that's a MVP candidate. They've got Mookie Betts. He's an MVP candidate. Trey Turner's great now, obviously, Justin Turner, Chris Taylor.
Yeah.
But with Bellinger, the way he's playing,
Sort of black hole.
it's just provided a bit of a weakness in that lineup. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the Dodgers should win this division, but the way it's gone, honestly, I just feel like the Giants will figure it out and probably win this thing. The season series is over too, so no more head-to-head.
I just like
those two teams.
The Dodgers are a team that I would say most people would still say are favorites to win the whole, World Series. I mean, they're the the $300 million payroll. I mean, this is a team that, we can talk about Bellinger and, whether he'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, this is a team that's still 35 games above 500. They're a team that, when you see them on the schedule, you're cowering in fear. And when your rivals are playing them, you say, you give yourself a fist bump, say yes. I think this is a team that, I think this team will dominate in the playoffs. I really do. I think this team, I think I like have faith in the Giants because I actually like Gabe Kapler. I'd like to see him do well, but I think the Dodgers will just cakewalk through the NL playoffs. That's my early prediction.
Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I love Gabe Kapler, the glasses. I mean, what a look. I mean, that guy's looking good every time he's on the field. I mean, best looking manager in the league. I think Gabe's got it by a mile, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, Dodgers, I mean, that's got to be the team. Obviously, in a wild card situation, anything can happen. So they don't want to be in that. I think the team that would give them the most trouble would be the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that's really just, built on pitching. I mean, you look at that big three: Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, and, guys like Hader, Devin Williams in the bullpen. That's not going to be easy to face. Their lineup's pretty competent too. They don't have, too many superstars now that Yelich is, kind of faded and struggled with injuries. But it's a quality lineup. Willie Adames has really become a stud in Milwaukee. Good for him. Change of scenery is clearly important. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do want to move on to the AL and really specifically the wild card race, which is kind of distanced itself recently. The Yankees obviously in first by half a game. Boston's right there, and then outside you've got the Mariners, you've got the Athletics separated by a few games or so. The Blue Jays are also right there. Those are probably the main teams competing. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on the wild card situation in the AL. Who you like, who do you think is the best team in that group, and what your prediction is for how we'll finish out in these last 20 or so games.
So what's interesting to me is that Seattle, a lot of people kind of thought they kind of packed it in. A lot of people were like, are they packing it in at the deadline despite, being like 8 games over 500? They traded their best reliever to, the team they're competing with directly in the division. They're only 4.5 games out, by the way. They're not the West, the AL West, excuse me. It's probably not, it's the Astros will probably see it through, but it's not out of sight for the Mariners there. But I just think it's interesting. I think they're a very good baseball team. It's just the AL is so competitive, man. It's wild. I think a lot of people are counting the Mariners out here. I mean, they're 3 games out. They have a lot to play for, both in the division and the wild card. I mean, I just think it's interesting to me how a lot of, they might have, a lot of people I saw, MLB Network saying, I just remember the time, they're packing it in, they're selling, this might be done. And then, they're only 3 games out. But the best of it, the best team in this bunch, the wild card bunch, I guess, which includes, 5 teams, I would say. I think the Yankees are far and away the best team in the bunch. I mean, the post-deadline Yankees have been phenomenal. They've slowed down a little bit, but after the deadline, how many games out of how many did they win? Do you remember? It was a lot out of a lot.
It was a ton. I mean, they went like 20 and like 4 or something like it. Insane, something around there.
I also think the Red Sox are very strong, but I think the Yankees are far and away the best team out of the bunch.
Yeah, I think, the Yankees, the way they've played, they're definitely a top team. The one concern for me, obviously in a wild card setting, it won't be a problem with Garrett Cole, but the rest of that rotation to me is just I
It's a
just
little
don't love it. I mean, yeah, you've got Corey Kluber who's come back. To be honest, I don't even know how he's fared. I haven't really checked the box score with him, but outside of, I mean, those two guys, Severino is just setback after setback. I don't think you can expect anything, nor should I think, I don't think he'll really start for them. You're a month to go in the season. To ramp up that much and just throw him into these meaningful games, I don't think that's going to go too well, to be honest. I don't think you can count on him for anything. And then you've got like Jamison Tyone, Jordan Montgomery, guys like that. I just don't like it. So to me, in a long-term playoff series with some of these teams like the Rays, the Astros, the White Sox, it could be rough. But that said, they are the best team in this bunch for sure. The Red Sox, like you said, are right there. I like the Blue Jays a lot. The Blue Jays have played great baseball. They've won 4 in a row. They've really kind of bounced back after a bit of a weak stretch. Their lineup is great. Simeon, Guerrero, Bichette. I mean, the name goes on. Teoscar, George Springer, and whatnot. And then the rotation has been solid too. Robbie Ray has, really turned his career around. It was kind of crazy to see, honestly. Robbie Ray is one of the best pitchers. He's an AL Cy Young candidate at this point, which is crazy to think after, how much he struggled. Good for him. So I like the Blue Jays. The Mariners, like you mentioned, I mean, I think they're an all right team. I think they'll be up there, but I don't think they'll be able to squeeze in the playoffs. I just think down the stretch, I don't love their pitching, to be honest. They've had some guys who, Paul Sewald, Chris Flexen, former Mets, have really helped their team. But I just don't see them squeezing in. I think the A's would overtake them at some point. And, one thing with the Mariners is it has been nice to see Jared Kelenic suck as much as he has. He has been god awful. I believe I checked Baseball Reference the other day. He has a negative 1.8 WAR, which is just beautiful to see. I mean, that is pretty bad. So Jared Kelenic, we won't have to hear about him for at least another year or so, and how he's going to torture the Mets. Maybe it was a good trade. Maybe Edwin Diaz is going to be better. Who knows?
That will require Jared to be really, really mad.
I mean, he has not translated well to the major leagues. I mean, it's been pretty bad to see.
He's a young guy, though. He's a young guy. I have faith he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. The talent's there, no question. But it's been interesting to see him struggle. That's for sure.
For sure.
All right. So with that, I think we can move on to a little NBA real quick. We're not going to talk about this for too long. Just touch on it briefly and maybe give some predictions. But this past week, it was reported that Ben Simmons wants out of Philadelphia. Obviously, this post playoff thing has kind of been a mess. I mean, the fans want him gone. We'll give Rob the floor here in a sec to talk his feelings on it. But it's interesting to hear reports that Ben himself wants out. I think a fresh start. He clearly wants it. He needs it after that kind of playoff run. It was pretty embarrassing to see the least. So, Rob, I mean, what are your thoughts on the situation? What are your thoughts on Ben Simmons? Do you want them to, keep Ben Simmons, or at this point is it totally lost? He's got to go.
I think from the moment that clock hit 0, I think it was inevitable that Ben was either going to request a trade, or he was going to leave. There's just no way it could stay. I went to Game 7 with my dad. Actually, I said that to him right after. I said, "There's no way he can play here again." The thing that frustrates me with Ben is that he's such a talented guy, and so much of the time he just looks like he doesn't want it enough. Which is so frustrating considering how dramatically he improved. He's been, since he came to the league on defense, but on offense, it just looks like he's totally disinterested, and he refuses to improve on that. And I think the thing that a lot of Philly fans are scared of, Philly fans are mad at, is not that Ben struggled, but Ben looked scared against, I still believe this, an inferior Atlanta Hawks team. Ben, he disappears in the fourth quarter. And for years and years, I defended him. I say, I'll figure it out. He's a young guy. He's still a young guy. Maybe he will figure it out, but not in Philly. And they have to maximize Joel Embiid's prime, because I think he's one of the most talented bigs the NBA has seen in a very long time. I think he was putting up, 30, 10, and 10 with one leg last playoff series, and the rest of the team let him down. And that's not just Ben. It's not, the blame isn't solely on Ben. The coaching, Tobias Harris kind of disappeared towards the latter end of the series. But I just think, a lot of Philly fans are just mad that Ben refuses. He plays scared. And, you can't play scared in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah. I think I agree with you that, once that series ended, it was just time for a change for both of them. Um, and I think also part of the reason it's time for a change is just because, it just hasn't worked out in Philly in general in terms of success. Yeah, they've been in the playoffs, they've been right in the hunt, they've won, the regular season, but they've never been able to get it done in the playoffs. Obviously, their closest they came really was that Kawhi series where it hit that buzzer beater. I mean, they were right there to make it. And, who knows what would have happened in overtime that year. They had a good team too, with Jimmy Butler was there. That could have been a championship team right there.
I have to drop a stat about that team because this is one of my favorite stats ever. That starting lineup of Ben, JJ, Jimmy, Tobias, and Joel had the highest playoff net rating of all time in those two series.
Wow.
And what killed them? Sorry, I always go off on a tangent about this team. But what killed them? They had like a 7-man rotation, and they had to play like Boban and Greg Monroe in the playoffs. And whenever Embiid was out, they were like a -90, and when he played, they were like a +120. And clearly history repeats itself. So
yeah. I mean, I think Philly, they just need to reset and shake their core up a bit. Obviously, the team is built around Embiid. To be honest, anyone else though should be made available and should be willing to be dealt. I don't think Tobias Harris is really going to be able to be dealt with that contract. I don't think teams are really going to be seeking him. Sure, he's a great player, but worth that much money? Probably not. But Ben Simmons obviously is kind of that crown jewel that they'll be trading, and we'll see what happens when they get a deal done. They kind of have to at this point, which is not a great spot for them, obviously, because you want to maximize return. And as we've seen, kind of just in history, when a team knows that players disgruntled, situation's not working out, they're not going to pay up as much. So hopefully Philly can maximize that return. But I agree with you. I think Ben's time in Philly probably has come to an end.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a shame,
Yeah.
but that's how it is.
It is what it is. And moving away from basketball, we'll be back to the NBA at some point in the next month or so. But the NFL, this is what we're really going to be talking about on this podcast. Mainly, I mean, baseball we'll definitely keep talking about, but NFL is what this thing's built on. To be honest, how it was established outside the arena is built on the NFL. So we're going to talk about it. Obviously, we're filming this on a Monday. You'll see this on Monday. So, week 1 starts this week. Thursday, we've got the Cowboys. We've got the Bucks. Before we go into our weekly predictions, I want to talk about some of the cuts from this past week, most specifically Cam Newton, which really made headways in the NFL. Patriots going with Mac Jones. They're not going to bring Newton, onto the team. What was your reaction to that move and, your thoughts about it now?
I was a little surprised, when I saw that he was cut. I wasn't surprised that Mac won the job, though. I mean, I think he outperformed Cam. I was actually, I just think there's, how do I phrase this? I think having Cam on the team was not worth the risk for a guy like Bill Belichick, who's, predicated on success and winning, and anything he does that's detrimental, that he deems detrimental to winning, he'll cut ties with that immediately. And unfortunately, Cam's vaccine status, if he gets a breakthrough case or anything like that, I think most people would agree, in the media and otherwise, even fans would agree that played probably a pretty big part in him, not just, being the backup, but him getting released. I mean, a guy like BB just usually doesn't have any tolerance or patience for something like that.
Yeah. It's a tough situation for Cam Newton. I mean, specifically, I do agree with you that, vaccine status may have played a part in, whether, he would be on the team, whether he got the job or not, which is unfortunate for, guys in the NFL. We've seen some guys, be released or, quit their jobs because of this. Obviously, it's a whole nother topic, but, it is tough to see some of these guys, dreams go away and it's just crazy times. I think that's really the best way to sum it up.
Sure.
It's kind of crazy that this is a thing and that this is reality, but it is. And, for Cam Newton, sure, that probably played a part, but I also think it played a part. There's been a lot of reports. I saw one the other day that Mac Jones was teaching Cam Newton the playbook. Like, if that's the case, clearly, Cam is, he's just past his prime. I think that's the only way to describe it. If that's the case, also, I just don't think the work ethic's there. I mean, if you're having to be taught the playbook, if you know you're going to have competition with the rookie QB who's picked in the first round, you should be on your game. You should be knowing the playbook.
Yeah.
You should show up to camp prepared, in shape. And clearly Cam Newton, I mean, to me, I've not been high on Cam Newton these past few years. I've said to people who have, said this guy's still a top QB. That's not true. He's way past his prime. We saw that last year. People made excuses. Yeah, he had COVID. He was out for a bit. Then he came back, was not the same. He's just not that good. And clearly him being cut shows that. He hasn't even been signed yet. I don't know if he will be signed, to be honest, until maybe a team suffers an injury or whatnot. But the Cam Newton era in New England is over. Was I a little surprised by the move? Sure. I definitely thought they might go into week one with Cam, but clearly, there was no reason to. He wasn't Bill Belichick's guy, and Bill would rather much, even if it, there's some growing pains originally or some time to get adjusted to the NFL for Mac Jones, he'd rather have him go through that than start Cam Newton. So that's the decision. They didn't want Cam on the roster too, which is interesting. I think it says more about Cam Newton, honestly, as a, not as a person, but maybe the work ethic's just not there. I don't know. I think, it's definitely an interesting situation, but obviously Mac Jones is going to be the starter. Very interesting to see this Sunday what will happen with that.
Yeah, I'd just like to make clear on my, Mac, I think, reports on a training camp made it clear he earned that job. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he clearly earned that job. I'm excited to see what he does, with Bill Belichick. So
it will be fun for sure. We're going to see 3 rookie quarterbacks taken in the first round start. Obviously, Trey Lance and Justin Fields will not be playing this week, but we will see the 3 other ones. And I think with that, unless you have anything else you want to talk about, we can go to the weekly predictions. All right, sounds good. So first, before we do that, we're going to give the floor to someone who has been, a founder of this podcast. We'll be here weekly with the Rommel Report. Everyone, Mac Rommel with the weekly predictions.
What's up, guys? It's Mac Rommel here for Outside the Arena podcast. It's been a minute. I'm in college now, trying to figure it out. As you can see, Baylor University. I'm going to quickly jump into my week 1 NFL season predictions for y'all. We start off Thursday night at 7:20 here, 8:20 back at home in New York. And we got the Cowboys versus the Buccaneers. A highly anticipated matchup we've all been waiting for. It's been a while since we've had football. It's great to have it back. Cowboys, Bucks. For the Cowboys, Zach Martin will be out because of COVID. You have Dak Prescott coming back off of an injury. Your offense is probably still going to be very explosive, but the defense still has a lot of question marks. So right now, I have to take the Buccaneers. You have Tom Brady. You have all these guys. And last year, you guys know, I wasn't very high on the Bucs. So I thought they were going to be a team that goes all out for 1 year and struggles for a few years after that. They're able to get all their starters back, and they're going to show you guys how good of a team that they are once again this year. And it wouldn't surprise me if they go back to back this year and have 2 Super Bowl championships in the past 2 seasons. Buccaneers over the Cowboys, first game of the season. Next up, you got the Seahawks and the Colts. I'm going to be taking the Colts in this one. You have Carson Wentz, who's still hurt. You have Quentin Nelson, who's still hurt. But they will be playing, so this should be a great matchup. The Colts, they have a much improved defense. They have a great defense. You have Darius Leonard, all these guys, DeForest Buckner. For the Seahawks, you have Russell Wilson. You have that explosive offense with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson. But defense still has question marks on it. So for me, I'm taking the Colts over the Seahawks. Next up, we have the Jaguars and we have the Texans. And this is at 1 p.m. on Sunday. I'm going to be taking the Jaguars here. You're going to see Trevor Lawrence. You're going to see James Robinson since Travis Etienne is out. And I think this offense is much improved from last year. It's nowhere near where they want to be, but it's definitely improved. Defensively, you got Caleb Chase on. You have C.J. Henderson, all these young guys who are looking to contribute and make that next step and take that next step in their second year. Texans, we all know the problems that they have. Bad team. You're not going to have Deshaun Watson, and they're going to struggle this year. So give me the Jaguars over the Texans. Next up, we got the Eagles, and we have the Falcons. For me, I'm going to be taking the Eagles. This hurts as a Cowboys fan, but the Falcons, you have Matt Ryan, you have Calvin Ridley, you have Kyle Pitts now, you lost Julio Jones. Defensively, you're not looking too good as well. You lose DeMonte Casey, you lose Keanu Neal, 2 key safeties and 2 key parts of your defense, and you're missing them now. So you're going to be relying on some young guys like A.J. Terrell on that defensive secondary right now, and I'm not sure how much I could trust that. The Eagles, you have Jalen Hurts looking to take that next step. You have Jalen Reagor, who's looking like he's improved so far throughout this preseason. And you have Devonta Smith, of course, your first-round rookie, who everyone is looking forward to see. You have a great offensive line, getting older, great defensive line, also getting older. You have Darius Slay in that secondary. You have a lot of key veterans who should make you able to win this game over the Falcons. So give me the Eagles over the Falcons. Next up, we got the Chargers versus the football team. The Chargers have been looking like a great team, and last year I was very high on them. I know Griffin was as well. But you're playing Washington. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick now as their quarterback. You have great weapons outside. You got Terry McLaurin, all these guys, and you go out and draft Diami Brown. You have arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the best. And this year, you could see them take that step. The Chargers, you have Justin Herbert, Rookie of the Year last year, a guy who I think could be an MVP this season with Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, hopefully healthy. Your defense is solid. You're having Derwin James back. But I think Washington all around, because of their stout defense, is going to win this game. Offensively, they could struggle a bit, but I do think they're going to pull out a win here. And that's leaving my Cowboys right now as the only team with a loss so far in the NFC East in Week 1. Next up, we have the Steelers versus the Bills. This is a pretty easy pick for me. I know some people are very high on the Steelers still. I'm not about that. Big Ben, he's getting up there in age. He hasn't been performing as he once did. You have Juju outside. You have Chase Claypool. You have guys that are able to contribute, but this offense isn't on another level yet where they should be compared to a team like the Bills, where you have Josh Allen, you have Stephon Diggs, you have Cole Beasley, you have Zach Moss, you have Devin Singletary, all these weapons who are able to contribute and have shown that they can contribute and make plays. Defensively, Steelers, obviously one of the best defenses in the NFL. You're going to have Devin Bush back. And the Bills, you have great players like Trey White. You have a great safety core. You have a great D-line. You have Ed Oliver. You have all these guys who are able to make plays. And they made it very far last year, and they're going to do it once again this year. So give me the Bills over the Steelers. So we got the 49ers and the Lions up next. I think this is an easy pick for me. And Lions, they aren't where they need to be, and I think they still need a few years before they get to that level where they're in playoff contention. The 49ers, they are there right now. It's Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. You have two great quarterbacks, and Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to start from the beginning for a little bit before you see Trey Lance come in. You're having a returning George Kittle. I don't think the Lions are going to be able to stop that. Excuse me. George Kittle, you have great weapons on the outside. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, a good running back core with Raheem Mostert. You draft the rookie Trey Sermon. In the Lions, you get Penei Sewell on the offensive line. I think that was really the only big pick that they made this year. That's going to have a real factor on this team winning games. Defensively, the Lions just aren't there right now. With the 49ers, we know amazing defense. Although you lost Robert Saleh, you're still going to have a great defense. You have a lot of great players. You have Fred Warner, obviously one of the best linebackers in the league, if not the best. I think the 49ers are all around a much better team than the Lions. So give me the 49ers for this game. We have the Vikings and the Bengals up now. The Bengals are having Joe Burrow return. You draft Jamar Chase. Hasn't looked the best, but he has had the year off. So it may take him a little while to get acclimated to things and get back to what he once was. So for that reason, I'm going to have to take the Vikings in this game. You're going to need some players for the Bengals on the outside to make some plays. You have T. Higgins, who obviously can make plays, but I think you're going to need some more out of Jamar Chase. Hopefully he'll do that from the start, but I do think it's going to take a little while. Defensively, they're not there yet. The Vikings, you know the offense that they have, they're great. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, the amazing rookie from last year, was able to make plays defensively. You have some solid guys on that side, so I think the Vikings should be able to win this game fairly easily. Bengals could have been an upset here if Jamar Chase, if we knew what he was able to do this early, but it's just too unsure of that right now. So give me the Vikings over the Bengals. Next up, we have the Jets and the Panthers. I've been a guy that's been very high on the Panthers last year, especially. You have a great defense. Offense is really improving. You have Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey's back. You finally get a better quarterback in not Teddy Bridgewater, but Sam Darnold, who you think and hope is going to improve for the Jets. This could really be interesting for them if they could somehow pull out a win here. I think the Jets couldn't be a even winning team right now. They can't be even, but a winning team. You have Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, who's looked great. You have Michael Carter, the young running back, the rookie running back. You have a lot of guys who are starting to come out and make plays in training camp, and we're just going to have to see if they can do that on the field. But because we haven't seen that yet, I have to go with the Panthers right now. They have a great offense. As I said, they have a really good defense. That 2 years ago when Matt Rule first became the head coach, he used all their picks on defense. So they're really making an effort to be good on both sides of the ball. And I think you're going to see that this week versus the Jets. Next up, you have the Cardinals and you have the Titans. Two great teams. It's going to be a very good game. The Titans, obviously, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown. Now you have Julio Jones. You lose Jonnu Smith. Defensively, you're kind of taking risks. You have Caleb Farley, the rookie. Haven't heard much about him, so we're going to have to see how he plays. You have Bud Dupree, guy coming off of an ACL. So you're really relying on some guys to fill in for Dory Jackson, for Jadeveon Clowney, who really are risks at this point with injuries in their career. For Cardinals, you have Kyler Murray. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You have a lot of guys who are going to contribute on offense. But But defensively, you're relying on some young guys like Isaiah Simmons. You have Zayvon Collins, the rookie this year. So it's a lot of young talent that you're going to have to be wary of. But I do think the Cardinals right now are going to win this game because of the flaws in the Titans defense right now. Next up, I think this is the game of the week. It's the Browns and the Chiefs. And for me, I'm honestly going to go for the Browns in this game. I've been high on the Browns. Griffin's been high on the Browns as well. You see the draft picks that they're making. You get JOK in the second round, absolute steal. Offensively, OBJ's going to be back. You have Baker Mayfield. You have Jarvis Landry. You have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, all these stars on offense. And defensively, you have great cornerbacks, great young cornerbacks. Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, all these guys who are going to be able to contribute, make plays, really all over the field. So I think the Browns are going to take this upset real quick over the Chiefs. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, they have the stars on offense. Defensively, I think they're still a little bit above average. They're not that elite defense like a team as the Buccaneers have right now. So the Browns, give me them over the Chiefs for week one. Next up, we got the Dolphins. We got the Patriots. I'm going to be taking the Dolphins in this matchup. I know Griffin's a little higher on the Patriots than I am. You go out, you add a lot of talent on offense. Mac Jones is officially your starter defensively. You're getting all those opt-outs in, and they're all coming back. They're going to make great plays for the team, but I just don't know about them right now, and I think the Dolphins are a better team. You have Tua Tagovailoa, who's looking to take that next step this year. Myles Gaskin. You go out, you drop Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. You have Will Fuller. And defensively, you have great players, arguably the best quarterback group in the NFL. You have Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Noah Igbinoghene. All these guys are going to be able to make plays, and I think shut down that Patriots offense. And I think that's really how this game is going to be played. If you could shut down that Patriots offense, you're going to be able to win this game. And I think the Dolphins are going to be able to do that with that great secondary that they do have. Next up, we got the Broncos and we have the Giants. For me, I'm going to be taking the Broncos here. Drew Lock is not going to be starting for the team. So that means Teddy Bridgewater's in there. Cortland Sutton, he's back. Jerry Jeudy is looking like he's taking that next step. You have Noah Fant. Your defense is amazing. We all know that. But the Giants, they have a lot of question marks. And I think the main one is Daniel Jones. How is he going to play? How is he going to improve from last year? And this is the year we have to see, is Daniel Jones going to be our quarterback? And I'm not really sure about that. I don't believe in him right now. They have the weapons on the outside. You go out and you draft Kadarius Toney. You still have all those guys, Sterling Shepard. You're hoping Evan Ingram could start making some more plays defensively. They're much improved last year. You have one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL with James Bradbury. So they have the pieces. The question just lies in the hands of Daniel Jones and how is he going to play. And I don't feel confident taking the Giants right now until we see how he plays for the first few weeks of the season. So give me the Broncos versus the Giants. Next up, we have the Packers and we have the Saints. For me, this is fairly easy. I'm taking the Packers. The Saints, it's a whole new team without Drew Brees. The cap space situation is all messed up. You have Jameis Winston. He's looked amazing so far in preseason and what we've seen of him last year and those limited snaps that he did get. You have Alvin Kamara. You have the playmakers. Michael Thomas will be out. He's not playing for at least a few weeks if he even does play at all for the Saints this year. The Packers, you bring back Aaron Rodgers. This is the last dance. You're going all out for a Super Bowl this year, and they have the pieces to do it. You have the great receivers in Devontae Adams. You have a good defense. You have Jair Alexander. You have the Smith Bros. They can make a lot of plays for you, and I think the Packers are a team right now that are really good and are much better than the Saints at this point. So we're going to see how the Saints develop, but give me the Packers for this game. Next up, we have the Bears and the Rams. This is going to be a good division game, but I'm going to have to take – not a division game, excuse me. I'm going to have to take the Rams over the Bears. They have, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL right now. Offensively, you go out, you get Matt Stafford. You still have Cooper Kupp. You have all these guys, Robert Woods. We're going to be able to make plays, and it's only going to be enhanced with Matt Stafford there at quarterback. The Bears, you had the defense. Offensively, it's just really a question mark about the quarterback situation. Andy Dalton's going to be starting, and I think they would have a chance if Justin Fields starts immediately, but they don't want to go that route. They want to let him develop a little bit more, and I understand that. You're going to have to wait a few weeks before you see Justin Fields, but once he's in there, he's going to make plays and win the Bears. A lot of games that people wouldn't expect them to win. But the Rams, they're too good offensively and defensively right now to choose against them, so give me the Rams over the Bears. And last game, it's Monday Night Football, and it's the Ravens versus the Raiders. This is a pretty easy pick for me. I have to go with the Ravens. Derek Carr, he's been solid since that 2016 season. You have Henry Ruggs. You have these guys, Brian Edwards, who are looking to develop and take that next step, but they haven't taken that next step yet. Darren Waller, obviously a top 3 tight end in the league. Defensively, you still have a lot of question marks. The Raiders are known for their bad drafting in recent years. So you're hoping some of those guys can hopefully develop, but still question marks. And I think that's the main thing for a lot of these teams going into week one is the question marks of the young guys, the rookies, the second-year players, and if they're able to develop and do what they're doing in training camp and put that into real season games. Lamar Jackson, obviously one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He could run, he could throw, he could do it all. You're going to be without your wide receiver, Rashad Bateman. So you're going to have to rely on players like Marquise Brown. You're going to have to rely on Mark Andrews to make plays. And they did that last year, and they proved it. You're not going to have J.K. Dobbins either. So you have a lot of question marks, but the offense, they still have those proven stars that you're going to be able to rely on. They have the amazing defense, Marlon Humphrey, great cornerbacks, great pass rush. They have the players. The Raiders, question marks. And that's the thing for a lot of these teams and games in week one. Proven talent versus question marks. Right now, I have to take the Raiders in this game because they have that proven talent, even though they still have some question marks on the team. But that's my season 1 predictions. It feels weird to say this outside the arena. I'm going to be back, and I'm going to be on here a few more times and hopefully more often. But we're going to have to decide. But it was great to see you guys. Stay safe, and I'll see y'all next time.
All right. Thanks for that, Mac. We really appreciate that. Glad to see your picks. We'll be keeping track of yours right with ours. Hope college is treating you well, buddy. And with that, though, I will share the screen, and me and Rob are going to go right into it with these predictions, and starting with the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Going to be a fantastic weekend game. We'll see Dak Prescott return to action. Zach Martin is going to be out, though. He has COVID. Rob, what do you got winning the week 1 opener?
Definitely the Buccaneers. I really don't see, this is a Tom Brady trademark game, where he comes out the opening game. Maybe he's fallen off. Maybe he's washed. And, he throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, especially with the team. I think the Cowboys defense is still so weak. I think, I think Dak Prescott is an excellent quarterback. But it's going to take him some time to get, reacclimated with his offense, especially against, a defense as formidable as the Buccaneers. And yeah, I just don't see any way the Cowboys are going to even compete in this game. It's probably going to make me look stupid later, but that's my prediction as of now.
I'm going to go with the Bucs here too. I think, you can't really pick against the Bucs week 1, especially against a team like Dallas with the defense they have. Offensively, Dallas is a very strong team. Obviously, Prescott coming back. We don't really know what to expect, to be honest. Is he going to be, how efficient will he be week 1? How healthy is he? There's kind of been conflicting reports, so we'll have to see. But the Tampa Bay defense, we know they click, they've come together, and they can stop any offense in the league. So that's not a concern for me. And I just think this Bucs offense is just still too high powered. They bring back everyone. They've got the best receiving corps in the league, arguably. It's a team that's going to be tough to stop for a Dallas team that, is going to have some rookies playing. Obviously, they have Michael Parsons now. That should help. He looked good in preseason. Keanu Neal's there now. But it's still just a weak defense. It's still not, like you said, a top defense, a mid defense even. It's still in the bottom tier of the NFL. So with that, I'm going to go Tampa Bay. I think you can't really pick against them week 1, especially at home too. Seems like a good spot for the Bucs to get their first win of the season. All right, moving on. Seahawks, Colts in Indianapolis. Carson Wentz, the former Eagle himself, will be making his debut with the Colts. Rob, how do you see this one playing out?
I'm going to pick against Carson Wentz and the Colts. Perhaps, I might have some unconscious bias here. Maybe not so unconscious. But, yeah, I think the Colts have had a pretty crazy offseason, Carson Wentz specifically. There's maybe no quarterback in NFL history as good as early of the season Russell Wilson before, he goes on this little 4-game dip at the end of the year. But I think, I think these are both really good teams, both teams that could definitely win their division, their respective divisions, both teams that I could definitely see in the playoffs. But I think I'm just going to go with Seattle because I think Russell Wilson is a far better quarterback than Carson Wentz. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
I agree with you that Russell Wilson's a far better quarterback than Carson Wentz. I'm going to take the opposite on this one. I'm going to go with the Colts here. I really like the Colts. Just as a whole, I think they've got one of the best O-lines in the league, right up there. Not on the Browns level. They don't have like 5 All-Pros like the Browns do essentially, but they're a very good offensive line, obviously. I like their offense, to be honest. I know T.Y. Hilton's going to miss some time. Michael Pittman, Harris Campbell, guys like that should fill in fine. And I think that running back, group is going to be the key for these first few weeks, and especially in this game against the Seattle defense that, was bad last year. It didn't improve at all. So I expect the Colts to run the ball a lot. I think we're going to see Jonathan Taylor active and very, used in this ball game. Marlon Mack, we'll see his role. Obviously, at times, he was a starter in this league. We'll see what he can do at this point after coming off the torn Achilles. Nyheim Hines in the passing game is pretty good as well. And with this Colts defense, I just feel like the Colts defense is going to be able to stop the Seahawks better than the Seahawks are going to be able to stop the Colts, to be honest. I could be totally wrong. Carson Wentz to come out and have a terrible game. But to me, I'm going to go with the Colts in this one. Just as a whole, I like the team a little bit better than Seattle, but should be a very competitive game for sure.
I think I'm a little scarred from last year, some of those Carson Wentz performances.
Carson Wentz, yeah, he's definitely scarred you a bit. I'm going to just get a sheet of paper. You can go ahead, talk about the next game. A bit of a bum game here, Jags-Texans. I'm going to just write down our predictions. So who do you got here?
I'm probably going to take the Jags just because I think the Texans are building potentially one of the all-time worst rosters. Truly, I think this team. I don't think there's. I don't know when we're going to see Deshaun Watson. I'm glad Tyrod Taylor's getting another opportunity, but I think the Texans are absolutely awful, and I really wouldn't be shocked to see them go 0-16 this year. I think this is one of the worst teams in NFL history. I really do. I think there are a lot of question marks about the head coach. Same on the other side of the ball. I don't think the Jaguars are too good, but I think they're good enough, to maybe squeak past the Texans. And of course, I'm ecstatic to see Trevor Lawrence's debut against a pretty weak defense.
Yeah, Texans going 0-17 now. You have to remember, not 0-16.
17.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they're a very bad team. I don't know if they're the worst team in NFL history, but they very well could be. I mean, this is a rough roster. Tyrod Taylor, starting quarterback. They have like 7 running backs that have started in the past, but are all kind of past their prime a bit. Maybe Philip Lindsay could still do something in his prime, but I agree with you. I'm gonna go Jags here too. I'm not high on the Jags. I don't think the Jags are going to be competing. Some people really are big on Trevor Lawrence and think, he'll turn this whole thing around. He'll turn it around eventually, but right now, not this season. Their offense should be good. They have good weapons there. James Robinson is a fantastic running back. I truly believe he'll be do very well in that spot this year, obviously with Etienne out. So, we'll see what happens, but I do believe Trevor Lawrence will be able to get the job done. And, I just think with the Texans, kind of like what you said, I just don't think this offense is going to be able to score enough. They do have Brandon Cooks, who is really, their only real talent at wide receiver at this point. And the offense is just not good enough. I don't think the Jags D is anything special. They traded Joe Schobert recently, their middle linebacker, but I think it's just going to be an all right defense, but I think they'll be able to get past the Texans. I just don't think the Texans are too good. They're definitely going to be in that bottom 3 of teams. I think them, the Lions, are probably the worst 2 teams, and there's probably a team I'm forgetting that's right down there as well. I don't think the Jets will be with those 2 teams in terms of how bad. I feel like the Jets are a bit better than those 2 teams.
Hopefully the Eagles won't be either. Although maybe I want them.
Yeah.
Maybe I want them.
Well, speaking of your boys in green, Eagles fly, going against the Atlanta Falcons, 2 bird teams here. What do you got here?
I'm gonna have to pick the Falcons. Unfortunately, it pains me to say, but I really can't see us winning this game. We have a lot of trouble winning in Atlanta. A couple seasons ago, when I was still a Carson Wentz believer, we had the infamous Nelson Aguilar drop. I'm not sure if you remember that. Obviously completely different team, completely different coaching staff.
It was prime time that game, right?
Yeah, it was a Sunday night football game, I believe.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a lot of trouble. I know he's just a rookie. Kyle Pitts, I think, is just going to be something else. And I think Darius Slay had a lot of trouble against top receivers last year. Obviously, the Falcons have one of those guys in Calvin Ridley. But in order for us to win this game, it's going to have to be done in the trenches. I think at this stage, Matt Ryan still is probably a much better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I'd love to believe in Jalen, but I just think some of the firepower the Falcons have on offense is probably just enough to get up to pass. I think it's going to be a close game because I think the Falcons defense is pretty weak, but I think those guys like Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts are just going to be able to squeak out the W for the Falcons.
I'm gonna go Eagles here, to be honest. Kind of just a gut feeling with this one. I think my head tells me to pick the Falcons, but I just have a feeling the Eagles are gonna get it done. Obviously, quarterback Jalen Hurts. We'll see what he's made of this second year. It could be a big year, especially if the Eagles are competing for a top 5 pick or so. We've seen some of the top QB prospects, Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler, not the best week ones from either of those two. Not encouraging signs at all from them, but with the Eagles. This is a kind of a, weirdly enough, a make or break year with Hurts. I don't think they're set in stone on him as the quarterback of the future. So he needs to prove himself. And I do believe in him. I think this game, just because of defense, I think the Eagles defense is still a bit better. They have, guys in the secondary, Darius Slay, like you mentioned, who have been there. Fletcher Cox on the D line is another guy I like. The Falcons lost a lot of guys on defense too, specifically to the Cowboys. The Cowboys kind of snatched a few of those guys. Like you said, star power on offense. The Falcons definitely have more of it. They've got Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a superb talent. I think he's going to have a great year, but I don't think he's going to come out week 1 and have like a Travis Kelce type game. They do have Hayden Hurst. I think they're going to run 2 tight end sets. And we're going to see what happens. I could be totally wrong. Pitts could be an absolute monster, but I think there'll be some easing into it with Pitts. Ridley should be a beast, but I think the Eagles, defense, I think their defense will, have a solid game, honestly, force some turnovers. That, Matt Ryan is not prone to he'll turn the ball over, that's for sure. So I'm just going to go Eagles. I'm going with the bold one here, giving the Eagles.
And let me just say this. I want nothing more than for Jalen Hurts to be good because he's the most, one of the most likable Philly athletes I think I've ever seen. But my prediction is that he's just going to be exceedingly mediocre. I know a lot of people think he's a boomer bust guy, but that's my prediction for how he'll play this year. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens for sure. Chargers, Washington football team. This is a really good game. I'll start this one off. I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I'm a big believer in this Chargers team. And Derwin James is going to be on the field week 1. And, who knows how long he'll be on the field. But he is going to be on the field. They're going to have guys like Joey Bosa. This is an improved O-line. I expect a big year out of Austin Eckler. I think Justin Herbert is going to be a guy who can compete for the MVP this season. I really have huge expectations for Herbert. Obviously, the Washington defense is going to be good. That front 7 is one of the best in the league. Offensively, I am a little worried with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just don't think it's going to be a good offense. It'll be better than last year's, I think. But to me, it's just going to be, it's not going to be amazing. They do have McLaurin, they have Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson should be good. But I just think the Chargers are a team to me that, should win 10 plus games, the way I look at it. And, I think this is a game that they're going to be able to go there and just outplay the football team. And guys like Derwin James, Joey Bosa on defense, they're going to be able to, those guys will make a big impact week 1. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers as well here. I think, man, I gotta tell you, I'm just not a believer in Washington at all. I'm a big Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. However, I'm not a fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick as a 16-game QB. I agree the offense will be better than last year, but it's not really saying much. And I agree with you. I agree with you about the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert, is a generational talent at the quarterback position. I think, we'll be talking about him on that, maybe those top 3 to 5 quarterbacks in the league very, very, very soon. If not, by the end of this year. And I think Washington will put up a fight, but I think the Chargers just have, it's going to sound, very casual. I just think they have more dudes than Washington at the end of the day. I think the big question mark about the Chargers this year is, Brandon Staley, how will he, bring that, that fantastic Rams defense? Will he, be able to translate that to the Chargers defense as well? I mean, he certainly has the weapons to work with, Bosa and James. And, I don't think he can be much worse than Anthony Lynn because there were some mind-boggling decisions from him last year.
Yeah, Anthony Lynn, not one of the best quarterbacks we've seen. I think another, real quick on the Chargers, another X factor for them will be Austin Eckler. He'll be back healthy week 1, and he could be so huge. We'll see how the new offensive coordinator, I'm forgetting his name, and I don't want to, just completely make it up, but coming from the Saints, a guy who used Alvin Kamara the way he did, it'll be very interesting to see how Eckler is used this season. Moving on to the Steelers and Bills. This is a very good game as well, potentially, with the high-powered Steelers offense. We'll see Najee Harris make his NFL debut against Josh Allen and the Bills. What do you think about this one, Rob?
I'm definitely gonna go with the Bills. They got they're gonna have Bills Mafia, out in full force again. I also think Ben Roethlisberger, quite frankly, I think the guy's cooked. I think I'm surprised the Steelers didn't go in another direction at quarterback, because I think their roster, they do still have a pretty strong roster. I know a lot of people were calling them frauds towards the end of last year, maybe myself included, but I still think their roster's pretty strong. But I can't see them really challenging some of the elite teams in the AFC like Buffalo and a couple of teams in their own division with 41-year-old Ben Roethlisberger quarterback. And
yeah, I'm gonna go Bills. Oh yeah, keep going. My bad.
I was just gonna add, I think the Bills are one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFL. I think Josh Allen might even take another step forward. I know a lot of people are predicting a regression, but I think the guy is in a situation, especially with Brian Dable staying another year, which really was unexpected. I think he's going to thrive yet again this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bills here too. I just think the Steelers, I think they'll be about a 500 or so team this year. I'm excited to see Najee Harris. I know I have him in one of my fantasy leagues. I'm excited to see what he does week 1 and how they use him. I think their offense will be fine. I mean, the O-line is a bit of a concern, but I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. I don't think it's going to be, Jets O-line when Sam Darnold was there kind of bad. But the Bills are like you said. I mean, this is one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. This is a team with a very high-powered offense that's going to be able to score even against a defense like the Steelers. So I'm not worried about this offense. The Bills have a great defense as well. Sometimes forgotten about. Trey White, is there. Obviously, they've got a great secondary. Linebackers. Matt Milano's there too. He's been good. So they got guys all around the field that make plays and whatnot. So I'm excited to see what happens. Battle of the Edmonds brothers, I believe. I believe they're all still on these teams. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go Bills here though. I think the Bills should be very good this year.
Agreed.
All right. With that, we'll go to the Niners and Lions. I mean, this one I think will be pretty easy for us. I'll go 49ers here. Just the Detroit Lions are a god-awful team. We've even heard that DeAndre Swift might not be ready. He might be able to get on the field too much week 1 because of some lagging injury issues he's been having. So, one of the, not that would make a difference, but even with him out, it's obviously not going to go well. Niners should win this one pretty easily. And we'll see Jimmy G once again back at that starting quarterback position with Trey Lance on the sidelines waiting.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Niners as well. I don't think this game will be particularly close. I think the Niners are just much better than the Lions. I mean,
yeah.
I think that Niners defense will feast on Jared Goff. And Penei Sewell struggled a lot in preseason. So I think he's going to be, great lineman because, he's one of the most talented the league has seen in years. But I think, that Niners line will feast on the Lions O-line. And I think there's just a big mismatch on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. This won't be a close game. That's for sure. All right. Vikings, Bengals, Joe Burrow back on the field. It'll be good to see him back. And, a Vikings team that, just missed the playoffs, I believe, last year. I don't think they made the playoffs. They didn't. So, they're right back in it. They seem to always be in it each year. What do you got with this one? Who do you think will win this one?
I'm going to go with the Vikings. I still think the Bengals are a pretty bad football team. I think their offensive line is maybe the worst in the NFL, which is I actually think it's probably the worst in the NFL, which is saying something considering, with all the bad lines around the league. I feel bad for Joe Burrow just because he's coming back from that injury and he's going to have to deal with that O-line. And I think, Kirk Cousins will do enough to get the job done against a bad team like he always does. I think the Vikings are more talented at almost every position on the field. And I think Zach Taylor is a terrible coach. I really do. I think he's being, given a little bit too much leeway in Cincinnati, which is kind of a familiar theme there. And I think Mike Zimmer might, run circles with him, especially with a more talented roster.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Vikings here too. The Bengals, I think that storyline, one of their main storylines right now with the season is Jamar Chase. He looked god awful in preseason. He's really struggled. That season off clearly has taken a toll on him, and he's not the guy who he was that championship year with Joe Burrow at the moment. Obviously, he can improve. He should improve. But like you said, I mean, it'll be interesting to see him and Sewell. That's kind of going to be the story for the next 2 years. What pick they should have made. Penei Sewell, obviously, like you said, he has struggled, but I still think long term that might have been the better choice. They do have guys like T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd already in place, so add Jamar Chase to that. I just don't feel like that's as big of a difference as putting Penei Sewell on the O line. That said, it'll be good to see Burrow back. Burrow was great last year before the injury. I expect him to be solid. Joe Mixon is still there. He'll be probably average as usual at the running back position. And with the Vikings, I mean, this team is built on their offense right now. They go out, they spend their first round pick, I believe, on Christian Darrisaw it was, who should be a very good tackle for them. Dalvin Cook, that's the story. That's who this offense is built around. But Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, those guys are superstars as well. Sucks to see Irv Smith go down early for the year.
Yeah.
I know some people like them in terms of fantasy. Some people thought he might make a jump this year. They did trade for Chris Herndon of the Jets, though. So it should be a good offense. I think they'll be able to win this game. But honestly, I could see the Bengals winning this game just being one of those games. If Kirk has a bad game, in Cincinnati, I could see the Bengals winning it, but I'm gonna stick with the Vikings. I just think that the better team in this situation.
Yeah.
All right.
I really agree.
This one is going to be interesting. Jets Panthers week 1. Sam Darnold will instantly play the team that traded him away, that drafted him with the number 3 overall pick. Zach Wilson will make his NFL debut for the Jets. What do you got on this one?
I think I'm going to take the Jets, Griff. I think I'm going to take the Jets, surprisingly.
Really?
I know. I think the Jets are a bad team. I think the Panthers are going to be mediocre, but, I think this, like you said, the Eagles over the Falcons is a gut feeling. I think this is my gut feeling pick. I just think this is going to be, one of those crazy rookie debuts. I think Zach Wilson might tear that Panthers defense apart. I don't know why. I don't have any logic or reasoning behind my but I don't know. I like ours. I like, he seems to be building a pretty good culture over there. He seems to be, better than the last guy, certainly. I mean, that's not a very difficult task to accomplish. I don't know. I think, maybe a win to start off the Robert Saleh era.
I'm going to go with the Panthers here. I definitely can't pick the Jets. I think, Darnold has looked good in the preseason, that offense, CMC, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. I just don't think the Jets are going to be able to stop that defensively. Their cornerback group is still horrific. They didn't really address it, to be honest, this offseason in the draft or in free agency. I mean, Marcus May is there. They have some better pieces on the D-line. But, Mosley should be back. But we'll see. I mean, I just don't think this is going to be a close game. I think the Panthers defense is also an underrated part of that team. I mean, they did go out, draft J.C. Horn. They still have Derek Brown, guys like that. What's his name? Oh my God, the rookie last year who was very good. The safety. I don't know.
The safety.
I forget his name.
Freaking, you're killing me here. I wanted to
look this up.
Kyle. It's Kyle something.
Panthers roster.
It's Kyle something. This is killing me.
Let's see. Let's go to the defense. Come on. Was it Jeremy Chin? I didn't think it was Jeremy Chin. It must have been Jeremy Chin.
It was Jeremy Chin. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Chin, but then I didn't. But regardless, he's there. They've got some pieces. Shaq Thompson still there. Regardless, I think that offense is just going to be too much for the Jets defense to stop. They lost Carl Lawson as well. That hurts. It was Carl Lawson, right? They signed. They got like Shaq. Didn't they lose Carl Lawson and get Shaq Lawson
and traded for Shaq Lawson?
That's so confusing. I'm just gonna stop talking about this Jets team. It's a mess. Give me the Panthers this week. I think Darnold should have a good week 1 with his new team.
You and I picking each other's teams, Griff.
I know. It's just the way it is sometimes. But this game is a game that also should be very good. The Cardinals and the Titans. Julio Jones should make his debut, assuming he's healthy. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray in his, what is his third season now? Can't believe he's already in his third season. That's kind of crazy. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm gonna go with the Titans. I think that home crowd will certainly help, and I think that the offense is just so good. I think there are a lot of question marks about the defense. I think they'll probably be able to handle the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are a little overhyped, and I have to tell you why. I think they have a big disadvantage at the coaching because at the coach. I don't think Cliff. I talked about this on the last pod. I really am not a big Cliff believer, and I think the Titans have just more talent. I think AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones. I mean, the Cardinals have a couple guys on defense, Vega, Chandler Jones, but that Titans offense, I think, is probably going to prove unstoppable for the Cardinals. And I think the Titans will be able to do enough on Kyler Murray. They'll be able to probably not stop him, but they'll be able to contain him for their offense to score enough points to get them over the finish line.
I'm going to go Cardinals here. The Titans are a team that, I've kind of been not as high on as other people. I think their offense should be good, no doubt, with Derrick Henry. He's a stud. AJ Brown, Julio Jones. I mean, to be honest, though, Corey Davis had a great year last year. Julio will be better. He's going to ease the pressure off AJ Brown, but I expect Julio to miss some games this year. Obviously, he will be there week one. The Cardinals secondary is not their strongest point of their defense. Obviously, that D line and linebacking group is probably stronger. But I don't know. I just feel it's kind of a feeling. I really like Kyler Murray this season. I think he's going to have a great year. I think they've got great weapons on the offense. The running back position is a huge issue, as well as the O-line, which is why I don't think the Cardinals will be a team in the playoffs. But this is kind of just one of those weeks where I feel like Kyler Murray could have a really big week with D-Hop. I don't really see a guy on that defense that can stop him or Kyler in just the terms of, his ability to scramble, make things happen. I think that'll cause Tennessee issues. Ryan Tannehill is also coming off a week where he just had COVID. So we'll see how he's feeling. Obviously, he's likely to start, but is he 100%? We don't know. Could be, signs of that. So we'll see what happens with that, but I'm going to go Cardinals here. But Titans obviously can easily win this game. All right. Browns, Chiefs. This is, in my opinion, easily the best game of the week. Two of the top teams in the AFC, arguably the two best teams in the AFC, I would say, in my opinion. So this is going to be a fantastic game, 4:25 in Kansas City. I mean, screw red zone at this point. I think I'm just going to throw this game on, to be honest, and watch this. What are you thinking about this one, Rob?
I'm a big Browns believer, but I'm an even bigger Patrick Mahomes guy. I'm a big Andy Reid guy, and you can't pick against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, can you, at this stage? So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's going to be a really close game because I think both of these teams, the Chiefs probably have more weaknesses, but, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Like I said on the last one, I'm really interested to see how that revamped line looks. Obviously, they had some injuries last year, especially in the Super Bowl, but, Patrick was getting killed on almost every drop back. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs because I've seen them lose at Arrowhead, very rarely in the past, in the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid era.
I'm going to go with the Browns here. I am a big believer in this Cleveland Browns team. And I think if you look at the playoff game last year, obviously Mahomes went down. And before that, the Chiefs were kind of cruising along. But this is going to be a completely different Cleveland Browns team than what we saw in that playoff game. First of all, Odell Beckham will be coming back, which I don't think he's going to be some superstar. I'm not high on, him in a fantasy respect, but in terms of building that offense and making it even stronger, that he absolutely does that. He gives you another wider, superstar receiver. He's, an immense talent on that offense. So I think, he only provides a boost. And I think the key for the Cleveland Browns when looking at this team versus the team in the playoffs is that defense. It is going to be so different, so improved. They're going to go and have, guys like Grant Delpit will finally make his Cleveland debut, or he should at least. Greg Newsome, JOK, other rookies. And then you've got vets, John Johnson, highly regarded safety. Some people think he's one of the best in the league. Jadeveon Clowney will look to have a bounce back season. They signed Troy Hill. He's a veteran cornerback. That's going to help. And I think, when you looked at the playoff game last year, that Browns defense, they had some injuries to the secondary, obviously. They had some, guys who probably shouldn't have been starting in there, which I think really contributed to the fact that they got, kind of, it was a rough game for them off, defensively against the Chiefs. I think it's going to be much improved. I think they're going to do a much better job of, preventing Mahomes to the extent that you are able to. I don't think they'll do it to the level that the Bucs did. I don't think they have that ability, but I think it's going to be a very good game. I'm expecting a, very close game to the end, and I just do think the Browns will pull through. I think is to be honest, I think this is the most complete team in the NFL. I've said that a few times on this podcast already, but I do believe in the Browns. I think they'll get the job done week 1. But this should be an incredible game. Honestly, has game of the year potential instantly, and is a game that it's just going to be one of those games that you can't miss, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really disagree with any of the points you're making. I just think the Chiefs, I think they're the best team in the NFL. Even with that Bucs team in the NFC. I think the Browns are going to lose 2 or 3 games this year, and this is going to be one of them. I just can't pick against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, man. And I think Patrick Mahomes with even a semi-competent O-line will tear apart the best of defenses. No matter who's back there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has to hear it twice why you're picking the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are, arguably the best team in the NFL. Can't wait to see how that one plays out. Dolphins, Patriots. This is a very good AFC East game. We'll see Tua Tagovailoa go against his former teammate Mac Jones. Mac Jones will finally get that NFL debut. What are your thoughts on this? It should be.
I'm going to go with the Patriots. I'm really not a big believer in the Dolphins. I think Brian Flores is a really good coach. I think he knows what he's doing down there. I think he's really turned the direction of the organization down there. But I really see them going like 9-8, 8-9 this year. I think they're going to be painfully average. A lot of people, the biggest question mark for them is clearly the quarterback position. I was a big fan of Tua coming out. I'm really not anymore. I know he looked pretty good in preseason. The Patriots obviously are going to have a pretty formidable defense. Getting Dante Hightower back, that's going to be huge for them. Arguably, a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. One of the best when he's healthy. One of the best, of the past decade when he's healthy. But I'm just going to go with the Patriots, in Foxborough. The Dolphins have always, had trouble when it's not, beating the Patriots, and it's not at Hard Rock Stadium down in Miami. And, I just think, that Patriots defense is just going to overwhelm the Dolphins, especially their offensive line. I think it's probably going to be a pretty low scoring game. I'm interested to see the battle between, Mac and the Dolphins defense, Xavier Howard, some of those guys. I'm going to go with the Patriots just on the strength of that defense.
I'm gonna go with New England here too. Like you said, I've never kind of been a big Tua believer. Even early last year, you can go back on some of the podcasts and excuse me. I had a whole discussion feeling like just the way he was playing that it was just not going well. That this guy does not look to be too good. Preseason, he's looked all right. He's turned the ball over a bit, but to me, I just don't know. I'm not a believer in Tua. He'd really have to show me something for me to really change that. I don't know how big the Dolphins internally are believers in Tua. Obviously, you hear Brian Flores go out and say, this is our quarterback. We believe in him. Of course, he's going to say that, but there's also been so many reports that this team wants to trade for Deshaun Watson. So clearly, obviously Watson's an incredible talent, but clearly there, is some sort of urgency that, hey, Tua might not be our guy. We've got a pretty good roster right now. Maybe we need to make a move to really compete. So yeah, I think New England, they've done a great job this offseason. Obviously, I believe Hunter Henry is hurt. He won't be there week 1, but Johnny Smith is right there at the tight end position. Yeah, they've got great receivers, or not great receivers, but improved receivers, I should say, with guys like Kendrick Bourne coming in. And who else? Who was the other receiver they signed?
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers. Okay, yeah. So they have a few guys they brought in, and that defense should be good as well. They brought in.
I was going to say Jacoby Myers. I think he'll be much improved. Sorry, they didn't bring.
Oh.
He's not an addition, but yeah.
Yeah, I was confused. I thought they might have brought in another. I don't know who it was. I think it was someone small and whatnot. So regardless, the receiving core should be better. And the defense, they signed, obviously, Matthew Judon this offseason. That was their big guy, as well as, still being basically retaining a bunch of guys. So I think New England will win this game. Should be an interesting battle. And
Nelson,
like you said, kind of low scoring. I get that feeling. A defensive battle, kind of, potentially.
Nelson Aguilar was the guy you were thinking of.
Nelson Aguilar. Yeah, that was the guy. So maybe he's not a huge addition. Broncos Giants. This should be an interesting game. I'll start on this one. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos here. I think they're just a better team than the Giants. I'm not a believer in the Giants as long as they have Daniel Jones at quarterback. I know Saquon should be back, but he's going to be on a snap count for sure. He's not going to be in there. And to be honest, I don't think he's going to be at the level that he needs to be at to be that superstar. I think he's kind of just going to be in there playing, doing what he can. So I'm going to go Broncos here. I think they have a top defense in the league. They went out, signed or drafted Surtain, which was a big move. They also signed, I believe was it Kyle Fuller or Kendall Fuller? No, it's Kyle Fuller. They brought in. Kyle Fuller's there. Von Miller's back. Bradley Chubb's in there. So it should be fun. Very fun to watch this defense. And Teddy Bridgewater, you kind of know what you're going to get. He's not going to be a guy who can really get it done, but they've got a great receiving core, decent group of running backs, and a good tight end. So I think Denver will get this done in the Meadowlands.
Yeah, I mean, Denver definitely. I'm going to go with Denver. Like you said, I really think Daniel Jones is a terrible quarterback. There are a lot of Giants fans watching, so that might rile him up a little bit, but I just don't think he's the guy. Like you said, as long as he's there, I don't see the Giants being successful in any sense of the word. And I agree. I think Teddy B will be Teddy B. He'll do what he always does. He'll manage the game well, do enough to beat a bad team, just like game managers do. And yeah, for all the same reasons you said, I'm going to go with the Broncos.
Yep, pretty easy there. I think Packers Saints. Obviously, this game will be played in Jacksonville due to the events of Hurricane, I believe it was Ida, something like that. But prayers do go out to those in New Orleans affected by it. I really hope the recovery is going well, that people are getting their power back and whatnot. I haven't checked in, to be honest, and seen the latest. So my prayers do go out to all those affected. And, obviously we want to see the Saints in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome once again. This is going to be a good game, though. Jameis Winston will make, really his first start as a Saint. He's played before a little bit. But what are your thoughts on this one? Obviously, it should be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers. I think the Saints will be good this year. I think, I think I would probably pick them, second finish. I don't even remember when I picked them last week, to be honest. Probably second or third. But, yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers. I think, they're the MVP of the league on their team. That defense is really good. I'm really interested to see how Jameis plays, though. I don't know if I believe in Jameis or not. He's obviously one of the more exciting players in the NFL. But, yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers. I just think they're a better team. So many areas. I think the Packers defense will handle Jameis, and I think Aaron Rodgers will, just be Aaron Rodgers and win this game. And I think, the Packers are one of the elite teams in the NFL yet again. And I think they're just going to come out, especially Aaron Rodgers, with a ton of motivation in this game. You might have to say a few things to say to the front office, and he might let his play reflect that. And, yeah, I just think the Packers are the better team. I think they'll get the job done.
Kind of a weird feeling I got here. I'm going to go Saints. I think it does hurt them that this isn't in the Superdome and it's going to be in Jacksonville. It's really not going to be and there's no advantage anywhere. It's very weird. I don't know how that will be. But it is what it is for the Saints. I like Jameis Winston. He looked good in preseason. He looks focused, motivated. I think that year under Drew Brees and just working on improving really helped him. I do think, he's going to be an improved Jameis. He's going to be different. He's not going to turn the ball over as much. I don't think it's possible for him to turn the ball over as much as he did in that, ridiculous season. So I'm excited to see what happens with the Packers. The Packers are a very good team. They'll be competing for, the NFC Championship, very easily, and even a Super Bowl. It's kind of just one of those feelings. I just feel like the Saints defensively might have a good game, and I think Alvin Kamara is going to be able to play pretty well in this game. The Packers, defensively, they do have Jair Alexander. They got guys on the D-line, Kenny Clark and whatnot, and the Smith brothers. I just feel like Alvin Kamara, there's not really a guy on that team that I feel like matches up perfectly with him. I think Alvin Kamara should have a good game. I think Jameis will be able to take advantage of the deep ball. We saw what happened in that Bucs playoff game Obviously, Jair, who knows who he'll be on with, the wide receiver one really being Marquez Callaway. I think the Saints will draw up some interesting plays. Sean Payton is such a fantastic coach. So I have faith in the Saints that they might be able to, squeeze a win out here. So I'm going to pick the Saints, kind of a bold prediction a little bit. Obviously, the Packers are probably the better team, most definitely the better team. But I'm going to go Saints here. Why not?
All right. I have that feeling about, it's my Jets Panthers gut feeling, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, the Eagles was more of a gut. This one was more like I don't know. I just feel like the Saints might get it done. You got to kind of pick some games that you don't know sometimes. Yeah. But moving on to the Sunday night game, which in my opinion should not be the Sunday night game whatsoever. But the Chicago Bears and the LA Rams are playing this one. I'll start. Andy Dalton's playing quarterback, and the Rams are one of the best teams in the league. So this should be an easy win for the Rams. They have a fantastic defense, and Matthew Stafford will make his LA debut. I'm super excited to see what happens with that. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. Obviously, they have those guys, Michelle and Henderson in the backfield. Should be a very good offense this year, very formidable offense. And for the Bears, just a mediocre team, a 500 or so team. Obviously, Justin Fields, that's what people want to see. But until then, it'll be Andy Dalton, bringing the Bears some losses. So give me the Rams in this one.
This is a game that could get ugly, I think. I'm going to yeah, this is just a game, where you're going to have that hostile atmosphere. I know, the Rams Stadium isn't, the best in the league, but Sunday night, new quarterback, against, like you said, Andy Dalton doesn't bode well for the Bears. So, yeah, I'll go the Rams by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Ravens Raiders. I like this game a lot. I love Raiders like primetime games, especially in that new stadium. We're going to see fans there. That'll be super exciting to see that atmosphere. I know they have like clubs in the end zone and stuff like that. It's kind of a wild stadium, but yeah, I can't wait to see what happens with this one. This should be a good game as well. Lamar Jackson, obviously that Baltimore Ravens, they will be affected on offense though. J.K. Dobbins going to miss the season. I believe, was it a torn ACL that he got?
Achilles, I believe.
Something like that. Achilles, either or. Huge blow to J.K. Dobbins and the Ravens, which we'll see how that plays. Gus Edwards will step in as the RB1. So how do you see this one playing out, the Monday night game of the week?
No, I'm actually going to pick the Raiders. I think, like you said, that new stadium, they're going to have some motivation to play. I'm a bigger Derek Carr believer than most, I think. Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to be much better than the Raiders this year, but I don't know. Monday night, 5:15, basically prime time out there. I don't know. This is just a game where I could just see the inferior team winning based off, feeding off that home crowd. I mean, it's not like the Raiders are a bad football team. I think the Ravens are clearly much better. I think this is a game, one of those games where you could say, "Wow, why isn't Derek Carr like that?" 16 games a year rather than 7 or 8. So I'll go with the Raiders here.
I'm going to go Raiders as well. The Raiders are kind of a weird team. I'm like kind of in the middle on them. We were, on this podcast, me and Mac were high on him a bit, or on the Raiders last year when they really, had good weeks in there. And then they kind of fell apart. But this is a team that should be good offensively. I do really like them. They have a great running back group. Josh Jacobs, should really get the bulk of that running work. And Kenyon Drake really more of a receiving back. Darren Waller is one of the most talented tight ends, in my opinion. This guy is a weapon. He is a must-have in fantasy football. If you don't already, go get him. Trade whatever you have to get him. I think he's going to be right there, up there with Kelsey this year in fantasy. And they have receivers that I think should be improved. I think Henry Ruggs will be better. He was kind of his rookie season. I'm not personally huge on him. I don't think he should have gone first in terms of receiver, but that's the Raider way. They go for whatever they want at this point. So I think we'll see Ruggs be better. And they also have a few guys. I know there's guys like Brian Edwards. They got Hunter Renfrow still there. So they have guys in pieces. And that defense, I mean, they got Yannick Ngannou. Is it oh my God, I think it's Giannis. I'm botching this name. I'm thinking of Francis Ngannou, and I'm thinking of, it's a mess right now. I think it's Yannick Ngakoue, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that, mixing up Ngakoue and Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champ. But yeah, I mean, the Raiders defense should be better. I want to see strides from guys like Damon Arnett. I don't think he was a first round talent, but obviously they picked him in the first round. I'm blanking on if this team had a first round pick and who they did pick.
Alex Leatherwood.
Alex, that of course, the reach at tackle. So the classic Raiders reach at tackle. I do believe they had a good second round pick, if I remember, though. I think they got someone who I did like. I'll look it up when this is the last game. So Raiders, we'll look it up. Raiders 2021 draft. I feel like they had a good second round pick. Let me see. Let's see. Trevon Moehrig, the safety at number 43 was the pick that I'm thinking of. Guy who a lot of people thought would go on day one. So that's a good pick. He'll help the secondary for sure. But yeah, like you said, this is a good, the Raiders should be a 500 team that, play well. I think they'll do well at home this year in that atmosphere. And the Ravens, reason I'm also picking against them, I just feel like I haven't seen Lamar Jackson play too well in these primetime games. I mean, I remember last year we had that Chiefs-Ravens game and Lamar kind of just fell off. He was terrible. So I feel like Lamar Jackson, really has to prove himself in the lights, under the bright lights, under the pressure. The team hasn't made a deep playoff run really ever. They obviously lost the Titans that, one year last year. They beat the Titans, but then they lost to who did they lose to? Was it the Chiefs? No, it was the Bills, right?
That was a good game.
It must have been the Bills.
Was that a close game or blanking out?
I don't remember what it was. It might have been. Who knows? But regardless, we're both taking the Raiders here. We won't spend more time than we have to on this. But that will do it for our week one predictions. It was good to have those back once again. We'll be doing those weekly, like we said. And obviously, this is really the only Thursday night game we'll truly be able to pick. Maybe we'll look ahead, but it's kind of hard to. So, I've got the sheet. We're going to keep track of it this year. Maybe we'll figure out something, a punishment or a prize. I don't know what we'll do. But with that, I think we could probably wrap this episode up. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
I think we're good. Go Phils. Hopefully they get hot. And yeah.
It's going to be a fun week, NFL football. Obviously, in a few days now, we're just days away, less than a week away from a Sunday of NFL football. It is so exciting. It's going to be back. And, with that, we'll wrap this one up. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Outside the Arena. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. I know we had very good viewership. Rob ran some great viewers on this last episode. So if you are new here, if you're still watching, please go ahead, drop a subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Drop a like as well. Comment what you think. If you have any suggestions, any ideas that you want us to implement, we are always open to it. Also, go follow us on our second channel, OTA Clips. We're not as active right now on there, but when there is breaking news, when there is stuff to headline, if Ben Simmons gets traded, we'll make a video on there breaking down both sides of the deal. So stay tuned to that. It will be a channel to check out. And also go follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, at Outside the Arena on both of those. Follow us both on Instagram. The link for that's in the bio, and follow the podcast on Instagram at Outside the Arena Podcast. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's good to be back in an NFL season, and enjoy this week of NFL football. Take it easy, guys.